You're listening to the Platte River Bard.
Hello, and welcome to the Platte River Bard. This is Chris Berger.
And I'm Sherry Berger.
And we are here today with Jill Anderson, the guest director of King Lear here at the Bluebarn. She's also a musician and a freelance artist, as she has told us. And like I said, she is guest directing King Lear at Bluebarn. Thank you very much, Jill, for meeting with us.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
Well, we are so excited to talk to you about this production. I know it opens in just a couple weeks, and you've got a huge cast. When I saw your cast list, I recognized so many names that leapt out at me. How is it going?
It's going fine. We chip away at it every single day, and new discoveries happen every day, and the production is blossoming beautifully. So I'm very pleased. The cast of people that I assembled for this are phenomenal artists, smart, sensitive artists who are fearlessly applying themselves to this very difficult play.
Yeah.
Lear is a tough one.
Yeah,
it is.
So this is the traditional Shakespeare play. It's not necessarily been adapted to a different time or a different place or anything like that.
No, it is Shakespeare's text. It's without any cuts, it would be 3 hours plus. So
Yes.
I have trimmed it judiciously and shaped it a bit, but it is all text from Shakespeare.
It's all Shakespeare.
I've taken a few liberties in areas where the language is so archaic that it would be difficult for a modern audience to understand.
Yeah.
Made very, very slight changes
Right.
with the consultation of a dramaturg.
Wonderful.
Okay.
So a lot of times we hear people say, we don't need these classics anymore.
Oh!
Like, we are done with
Been
these.
hearing that a lot.
And the Bluebarn is really known for doing new things. So I love the fact that there's this diversity happening. But what would you say to that?
That seems to be a thing lately, and I don't get it.
I would say that the classics are the good stuff. The classics are, particularly, let's talk about Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people Shakespeare is language on steroids. So this isn't just saying things like you'd say in your everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
This is language elevated to a place that creates poetry.
Mm-hmm.
So it's communication married with poetry. And what could be better than that? It's elegant. It's his creativity, Shakespeare's creativity, tapped into the human condition in a way that is so deep and resonant.
Yeah.
And I can't get enough of Shakespeare. I said to somebody once that if someone told me, all right, as an artist, you can never do anything for the rest of your life but Shakespeare, I would say, where do I sign?
You'd be all right, yeah.
Where do I sign?
That's wonderful.
It's astonishing language.
So how many plays have you directed that are Shakespeare?
Oh, gosh. I've been involved in, I directed for the Twelfth Night Company in Blair. We did the Comedy of Errors. I've acted in probably 20, maybe more productions of Shakespeare.
Wow.
I have directed scene work and worked with students in the classroom in high school settings and in middle school settings to help them understand Shakespeare and to put Shakespeare's language in their own bodies, creating scene work, doing intensive educational activities with kids. I've gone on educational tours with Shakespeare, worked for the Nebraska Shakespeare Festival many, many, many years in a row. What else have I done? Gosh. I guess I've just done a lot. I worked for the Nebraska Shakespeare Caravan as an actor. So I've done more acting of Shakespeare than I have done directing of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Right.
Teaching it in scene work and to younger kids, is there still a connection? with some of the younger kids, or is it still work, or it seemed like it was work when I was in high school, but that may have just been my high school.
Do you mean in terms of work? Do you mean is it difficult?
Getting them interested in it.
I find it is not difficult getting them interested.
That's nice to hear.
I find that it is
is.
not, because if you take some exciting scene, for instance, from Romeo and Juliet, where maybe there's conflict, there's a fight that's brewing, or there's a love scene, the kids are excited to hold a fake sword. They're excited to have this incredibly hypercharged language to express their rage, their murderous anger, their love. I think they take to it like a duck to water. And the different age ranges take to it differently. I've taught as young as elementary school kids.
Really?
Working with Midsummer Night's Dream.
Wow.
So here we have
Okay.
fairies in the woods,
Yes.
and magic and things like that. They absolutely love it.
Of course.
So if I think that with teaching high school kids or any age kids with Shakespeare is that you engage their imaginations and then give them the language as a tool to express that.
To get it there.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite Shakespeare?
Oh no!
Oh, the
How
worst
can you
question.
ask me such a question? I can give you my,
favorite
I'll
one.
give you my top 4.
All right, top 4.
So
Mount Rushmore of Shakespeare.
Right.
Okay.
Midsummer Night's Dream. Come on.
Okay,
You
all right.
gotta love
All right.
Midsummer. It's so, there's a reason that it's probably the most produced Shakespeare play.
Yeah.
It's so full of fanciful, magical things.
And yeah, really great.
Um,
really great characters.
Twelfth Night. I adore Twelfth
Twelfth
Night.
Night. Okay.
I adore Much Ado About Nothing.
What to do?
And then I would say that I'm going to say the Scottish play. We all know
Oh,
what that is.
okay, okay.
Can't say that. I'm sitting in a theater.
That's right. We are actually in the Bluebarn Theater, so can't say that.
But of the darker works, that's the one that I like the best.
Scottish play. Yeah.
There are things in Henry V that are thrilling to me. I can find beautiful things in every one of the plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why do you think that the Blue Barn, or maybe you chose this play to do right now at this particular time?
That's a funny, interesting question. I was telling someone I was standing in the office, and Susan said, "You're going to direct. Can you tell me what you want to direct?" I said, "Well, Shakespeare. I want to direct a Shakespeare play." And she said, "Okay, well, which one?" And I said, Much Ado, Twelfth Night, something fun and rollicking. She said, "No, the slot that you're going to be directing in is a winter slot. Those are summer plays." I said, "Well, Romeo and Juliet?" And then she said, "King Lear." And I said, "Oh, King Lear."
King Lear.
And then another person in the office said, "That's my favorite Shakespeare." And then Susan said, "That's mine too." And I was like, okay,
So, yeah.
here we go, King Lear.
King Lear.
So that's how it was. I sort of selected it by default in a way, but I don't regret it now. King Lear is one that certainly I had been in it in a small role long, long ago.
Okay.
And I knew it, I was familiar with it. But King Lear is a gnarly play. It's gnarly. It's as a director or an artist, it's not all laid out right there for me. There are some Shakespeare plays that I read them and I'm like, okay, yeah, I know exactly what this is, and I know exactly how to act it or exactly how to direct it.
Okay.
It's clear. It's like a blueprint when I read it. This play, not so much.
Yeah.
It's a play about amorphous concepts and existential concepts. It's deeply psychological.
True.
The things that happen in it don't always make sense from a rational standpoint. It has to do with ego, identity, emotion, family dynamics. It's gnarled and it's idiosyncratic and it's it's a wild, stormy world that you enter.
Just messy.
And it's
very
messy,
It's
yeah.
very messy.
And then God help you. You got to climb your way. You got to find your way back out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's what I call like entering the dark tunnel.
Such a great story, and it's been adapted different ways over the years. One of my favorite and most, I think, interesting adaptations I ever saw was Ron, by Akira Kurosawa, who set it in medieval Japan during the shogunate, and I thought that was and that's one of the things and I think that's why we asked you if you were doing anything different with King Lear, because Shakespeare seems to. You can just take his story and go, okay, well, this we're going to do Julius Caesar, but it's not in Rome anymore. It's going to be in World War II, or it's going to be somewhere or wherever,
People
and they just
move
change
stuff around. I'll tell you exactly my tactic.
It's so
on this.
interesting.
It is interesting. It's the themes are so universal.
Yes.
And there's so much about humanity and the experience of being a human being that you can move them around in time. You could do it in outer space, who knows?
Yeah.
And people do. But with this production,
I've seen that.
I love it.
so with this production, I made a decision. In my research, I learned that the first time that this tale of King Lear and his 3 daughters appeared in print was in 1135. The 12th century was the first. I mean, that's ancient. That's early medieval time.
Yeah, for sure.
And that it was in a book by a manuscript by Geoffrey of Monmouth. That's the person who wrote that. And it was a book called The History of the Kings of England.
Okay, yes.
So that sounds like, oh, this is a history book. Well, not so much. It's mythology, really.
Yeah, it was a living document. It got passed around quite a bit, too.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was sort of his expanded fantasy version of British history. So because of that, it falls to me into the category of folklore.
Okay.
So I'm taking a folkloric approach to the aesthetic of this production. I'm setting it in the 12th century, or roughly. This isn't a museum piece.
Right.
It is informed by the shapes, textures, colors, and feeling of the 12th century.
Okay.
And then, so what I'm saying is it's basically the place where mythology meets psychological drama.
Okay.
And the mythology element gives me permission as a director and the actors permission as performers to extend what they're doing.
Yeah.
Make the stakes even higher, make the consequences even more dire. So we're sort of stretching it into almost like a storybook version. And it's also, it's full of classic folklore tropes, like the 2 wicked daughters and the good daughter.
Yeah.
You know, it's like some classic stuff. So to me, that says we don't have to be photorealistic about every element of this. We can expand it into sort of a fantasy world, a folkloric storytelling world. So that's kind of the way I'm approaching it.
Wow.
I love that.
I can't wait to see it. And I got a little bit of a glimpse of some of the set, and and the costumes.
Oh,
just
yes.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
I told Jill I could be here for another couple hours. I'll just walk around.
Just look at the
Diving-
costume shop, yeah.
Just diving into the piles of velvet and furs back
man.
there. But you know, I told Susan early on, I said, to me, almost always textiles are the way in.
Yeah.
Textiles are the doorway into a production for me. Like the last show that I directed was, it was a Russian folk tale. It's a folklore. It was called Morozka. It was a project I did with a combination cast involving people with developmental disabilities combined with top professionals from the Omaha music and theater scene.
Cool.
But the way into that one was Slavic textiles.
Oh, wow.
The colors and feeling, the stitchery, all of that handcrafted work.
Yeah.
You know, and I was able to source some beautiful Croge fabrics, Slavic needlework textiles and fabrics to make the costumes out of. We created headpieces that were based on traditional Russian head kokoshniks and things, So those material things, the tactile things, for me as a director, are they're often the way in to the world of the play.
I find as an actor also, the look of it, especially if it's a period piece at all, or if it's anything other than modern day. Boy, the costumes are, for me, I think, are really key.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really key.
It's the material world
Yeah.
that the story takes place in.
It's kind of timely to what we're experiencing right now.
Usually all of Shakespeare's plays are timely all at the same time.
They are, yeah. But I mean,
Unfortunately.
the idea of ego-driven, autocratic rulers, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Without naming names.
Right, exactly.
Well, there's plenty to go around.
There's plenty to go around, and they're throughout the world, you
Yes,
know.
they are.
Yeah, it really is a great choice.
But then the course of action in the play where a person who is at the pinnacle of privilege and power is toppled from that position. Well, he topples himself.
Yeah.
He gives away the kingdom,
Right.
and then through the machinations and ambition of other ruthless people, he is brought to the very nadir of an animal level, homelessness, deprivation, starvation, and that fall from privilege is what causes him to develop depth, richness of character, wisdom. At the point where he is the most mad, I say that in quotes.
Right.
He is in so many ways the most enlightened.
Yeah. Wow.
When
Yeah.
he's at his worst.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's those dichotomies, those sort of ironies, and that's what to me is so mind-blowing about this, that the sophistication of this invention, of this story, is 500 years old.
Yes.
It's incredible.
It is incredible.
Like, his understanding of human psychology is mind-blowing. That's what makes him the greatest playwright that ever lived.
Well, and it's why you're doing King Lear today in 2022, and we're not talking about Shakespeare like he's remember when they used to do Shakespeare? Yeah. No.
Right.
We still do. And that's always been one of the most amazing things, because I have by no means read even half of Shakespeare's stuff, but I've read a fair amount, and I am constantly amazed every time. Doesn't matter what I pick up; it's always relevant to something going on. There's always many things to recognize. Like you said, it was written hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And apparently people don't change.
Nope.
Apparently we've always been the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because the way people act,
Yeah.
the way he writes about them,
Yep.
it could be your neighbor.
The same
it's-
motivations,
Yeah.
the same, psychology.
It's amazing.
What motivates people to do what they do.
When you go back and you see so many plays and movies and TV shows, and you're like, gosh, that's so dated. You can't even watch that now. When has anybody ever said that?
About Shakespeare.
No, never.
Right.
Because it just keeps ringing true, no matter how far away we get from it,
It does.
from the point of origin of when it was written. It's kind of unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of unbelievable.
Amazing.
And very jealous, because I still haven't done a Shakespeare play. So.
Well, that's next on the to-do list.
I know
It
that needs to go on the to-do list.
A non-singing type of thing.
Yes, well, I got to do Shakespeare lines, but it was in Kiss Me Kate, so I had to sing as well. I can't get out of singing. That's my lot in life.
So this show opens March 24th and it runs through April 16th. So you've got, 16 shows.
I think about that.
Yeah.
This is, as far as the actor goes, this is one of those King Lear. That's one of those parts for an actor. Everybody says, "Oh, well, have you done your King Lear? What's your,
Right.
Yeah.
who's your King Lear?"
Well, our King Lear is a man named Thomas Becker,
Okay.
who is, he's one of the big leading men of Omaha theater.
Yes, I say the
Yeah,
it's
he
very
was
familiar.
Atticus.
Yes,
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
at the Playhouse. That's
and
right.
he's wonderful. God, he has, a face made for the movies, really. He's a fantastically distinctive physical type of guy. And then his accessibility to his heart and his emotions is very open.
Nice.
So every day he's finding new things and bringing new things. I take a very light touch with him directorially because he needs space for his creative process.
Okay, so he's feeling it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
feeling it out and finding it. And
Yeah.
like I said before, some Shakespeare plays I would know exactly, I would sort of have it all figured out in my head. This one, the right process for this is to feel our way through it as a
Okay.
company,
Not be so rigid.
not be rigid, and find those, the connections between the characters and how those resonate and what energies play off of one another.
Yeah.
So I'm really kind of shaping energies more than anything to make for the most fireworks.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's fantastic. Yeah, he's just.
It's a big deal part.
Oh, it's a big deal part. It's a big deal part. But
It
there
is.
are other amazing big deal parts,
Oh,
like
for
Edgar,
sure.
the character of Edgar, for instance, who is framed by his brother.
That's right.
The brother has lied to their father and said that Edgar, his brother, is going to attempt to murder him.
Oh,
So then the dogs are sent after this poor framed young man, and he has to run. And all the ports are barred. He can't escape the land. So he has to go undercover, incognito. And he chooses the guise of a homeless madman, living naked, basically, in the wilderness,
Okay.
in order to not be recognized for who he is. And here is a nobleman's son, destined to become, a top nobleman of the land, who is reduced to living in a diaper, in filth and pigsties, and eating whatever he finds on the ground. And so another story of someone who falls from a position of privilege to a person of tremendous deprivation. And we have an incredible actor, a young man named Matthew Kisher.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
I know Matthew, yes.
Matthew is phenomenal in this.
Yeah.
He's really, he's one of those actors who brings everything within him to the
He certainly does.
the
Yeah.
task.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And we had the pleasure of meeting Delaney Jackson, who's your Cordelia.
Oh, Delaney.
She was delightful.
Delaney
yes.
is heavenly.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's a class act, a beautiful young woman who brings dignity and power and femininity to everything she does. I'm absolutely thrilled with having her on board too.
Yeah. I saw her in It's a Wonderful
It's a
Life
Wonderful
at
Life.
the Rose.
We got to talk to her. She was just
and
delightful.
we talked to her, and then I went and saw the
Yeah,
play.
really nice.
She's
Really
a
great.
real, she's one of the hot actors in town now. Everybody loves Delaney for good reason.
I'll believe it, yeah.
But there's just so many. I don't even know how you always choose, when auditions happen.
What was your
and you
audition
cast.
turnout like
Well,
for
the
King
audition
Lear?
turnout was good. It was decent, and it's always an agonizing process when you
Right.
have so many good people show up to sort of
Yeah.
take a chance on someone.
Sure.
Right.
When there are 3 other people that could as easily step
Right.
into that role and do that.
Sure.
But I tend to cast energies
Okay.
You know, I know that I'm looking for specific attributes for this character, and I zero in on where do I spot it
Yeah.
among the candidates.
That's great. And you've got some diversity in your cast, which is great, especially for this production. And then, of course, Josh Payton is in it as the fool.
Good old Josh.
So he's back to the Blue Barn.
Josh is phenomenal. Josh started out, I hope he doesn't mind me just saying this on the air, but feeling kind of like a fish out of water because his experience with Shakespeare is absolutely minimal.
Yeah, I thought he did not have very much. I remember
He doesn't have a great deal of experience with Shakespeare.
That's intimidating.
So he was intimidated by
Yeah.
the language, and through the process of working with this every day, he has become an incredibly luminous presence in this story.
Not surprising.
That's great.
Not
He's
surprising.
really remarkable.
Yeah, he really is. He catches on quick. We had a lot of fun working together. He's someone that would work again at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
and a lot of fun to work with. So, yeah, as far as being another actor.
And you've got some Lincoln talent. Right. Ashley Kobza.
Kobza, she plays Goneril. She's amazing. She's a very, very, she has a rich emotional inner life that she draws on to great effect, and is just her own wonderful energy. And then the other sister, Regan, the other evil sister, is Melissa King.
Yes.
She's a local favorite.
And
She's
Oh, yeah.
done
Yeah.
work with St. Bridget, and
Yeah.
and so the two of them are a wonderful study in contrasts.
Neat.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see all of it.
Melissa, I'm asking Melissa to do savage and inhuman things in this play. And she said she's never played a character like that.
Excellent. That's awesome.
It's nice when, when
Yeah.
you do something
She
different.
plays a dangerous and psychotic character in this.
You gotta see
and
it.
I think she's enjoying it quite a great deal.
Oh, yeah, especially if you never got to do anything like that. Oh, so that's so much fun.
Last night she came to rehearsal in a T-shirt that said "Be kind," and we all just laughed our asses off.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Oh, that's amazing.
Perfect. Now, you are the guest director here,
I am.
artist, musician. How did you get into theater in the first
Oh,
place?
my
I
Lord.
know, what a loaded question.
We're going way back. I just was always a little ham, even
Just-
when I was a
yeah.
kid. I loved to put on plays, put on little shows in the basement for my aunts.
As a
you
kid?
know,
Oh,
as a
that's
kid. So
awesome.
I had a performer's sort of bravado from an early age. And that carried into high school, and I knew in high school that I wanted to have a career in the performing arts.
Yeah.
For sure.
Somebody figured it out.
And then at the very beginning of the existence of Bluebarn Theater, I was there seeing their shows in the audience. And then not long after, I became involved on stage.
Okay.
And then over the years, I've really done everything from acting in shows to costuming. I've done a little bit of writing. I've co-directed things with Susan, the artistic director here.
Okay.
She's called me for consultation on things, so I have a very ongoing, exciting, open sort of,
Yeah.
I don't know what tete-a-tete with the artistic director about projects. We always know we can go to each other for, an outside eye.
Yeah.
That's
nice.
exciting.
It's nice.
So let's see. Yeah, I
And
mean,
you have your MFA from UNO.
I do.
Yeah, so you're in
yeah.
Omaha.
Yeah, I studied
Yeah.
UNL and then transferred to UNO partway through.
Yeah.
You have sung some Irish music and done some albums.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have. For a very long time, I've done Celtic music. Irish music and different
wonderful.
folk music forms are of great interest to me. I love indigenous music from around the world.
Yeah.
And my current passion is Yiddish song.
Ooh.
I'm studying Yiddish song by Zoom with a man in Moldova.
Cool.
Who is sort of a Jewish music, I don't know, he's one of the foremost musicologists, I guess I'd call them, in traditional Jewish music.
Wow.
And he travels all over the world to klezmer festivals and Yiddish song festivals.
Oh, that's cool.
So I study with him, and I'm learning to sing Yiddish
Yiddish songs.
music.
But no, that's wonderful. You guys have that in common, the Celtic.
Yeah, the Celtic part, yeah.
Yeah.
And not so much the Yiddish.
I haven't
part.
done much Yiddish singing yet.
But there's a first time for everything.
There is a first time for everything. I've spoken some Yiddish and heard it spoken, but no singing. I haven't heard it sung actually, but a lot of it spoken. I used to go to.
The music is beautiful.
So you've done some traveling then with your music.
Traveling with it. Now by traveling, do you mean literal traveling?
Well, I don't know. I just know you have an IMDb page, and California was listed on there. So I didn't know if you went there with your music or you went there with your acting.
I went there with my body. I moved there. I moved there for a while.
Yeah, you've done some movies.
And it was not for me. I do not like LA. I have no interest in
Not
living
an LA
I
person.
tried it.
Yeah.
You know, as an actor, sometimes you want to go out there and see what
Right.
the scene is.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've lived in LA, didn't like it. Lived in Chicago, it's okay. Lived in New York, loved it.
You're
Love
a
New
New
York.
York girl.
I'm a New York girl.
Yeah.
Like if I
That's
had
a song you guys sing.
Yeah.
if I had to choose a big city to live in,
It would be New
you know,
York.
it would be New York.
One of my best friends he can't get
Yeah.
enough of New York. Grew up in Kansas City, and he's like, no, this is home.
It's an incredible melting pot.
Yeah.
Wow.
It really is the melting pot, you know.
he
Do you go
loves
back and visit often? I bet. Do you
I
see
do
Broadway
sometimes.
shows? and-
I do. You know,
Every now
from
and-
time to time I
yeah.
go, and the Broadway thing is, I feel, overrated. Like when I lived there, every actor goes to New York because they dream of Broadway.
Right.
It was a wonderful thing to just be disillusioned and be done with that. When I moved there, as a side income, I was a substitute usher for Broadway shows.
Oh.
So I saw what was playing on Broadway multiple times. Like I saw
Sure.
Doubt probably 14 times. I probably
wow.
saw Little Women 10 to 12 times.
Wow.
I saw Julius Caesar, 7 or 8 times.
Cool.
And it was demystified very quickly because much of what I saw was just not that good. Or it might have been beautifully, the production values were over the top, but the content of what was being performed wasn't necessarily great. Sometimes it was not good, sometimes it was mediocre, and other times it was dazzling, but it wasn't consistently across the board,
Right.
just mind-blowingly fabulous.
It's not the first time I've heard that.
Wow.
It's commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Disneyland for theater.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
With some
Yeah.
astonishing outliers that are really true art.
Sure.
I sound so snobbish. don't I?
No, not at all.
But honestly, I've told people that the most astonishing, beautiful, incredible productions and art that I saw in New York City was often a hole in the wall down in Soho, or some weird modern dance piece at some arts center. It didn't necessarily stack
Be a
out.
Broadway
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so true. Sometimes you can find good theater. It doesn't necessarily have to have fancy costumes and sets, although
No.
that's wonderful.
Good
But if the
theater's
talent
where you
is
find
there,
it.
the other
That's-
things don't matter as
that-
much.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yep. I've had a lot of experience with that, man. You can put on an incredible show in a field, on a 100-degree day, and people will love you. I've watched it happen.
Yep.
I've seen some of the greatest performers I've ever seen perform next to a pooping horse.
There you go.
Yeah, and
then there's that.
and everybody loved it, and
Right.
and they came back for more.
It's the spirit of the thing. It's the heart.
Yes.
And it's the people involved in it.
Yeah,
And their level of dedication
yeah,
Yeah.
and connection.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
It's
in
where
my
you find it,
experience.
man. It doesn't have to be a big marquee thing.
Mm-hmm.
It can be right here at Bluebarn, and it is.
So how did you get into Celtic music? Where did you first hear it?
When
and
I was
fall
in high
love?
school,
High
yeah.
Yeah.
This is many, many years ago. When I was in high school, my best friends were this pair of really cute, adorable Irish boys, the Fogarty brothers.
Fogarty brothers.
And I would hang out with them and go over to their house sometimes. And their mother had Irish folk music on vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I first heard it, on vinyl record albums.
That's actually how I first heard it, from a friend's father who was a collector. His mother was from England, and that's all they loved was folk music. And English, Irish, Scottish, and American.
When I heard it,
Yeah,
the
it's
melodies,
amazing.
the melodies captured my heart. And I also realized that's my voice. This is what my voice is made for, this kind of music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made sense to me. And in
Yes.
high school, we had an incredible choral teacher named Mr. McMean over at Central High. And he really mixed it up with what he had us sing. So we were doing, Bach, and then a Jewish religious song, and then a Welsh folk song,
Cool.
and then a jazz swingle singers or whatever.
Right.
So it was all over the map, and the folk stuff was always the stuff that I gravitated toward the most.
Always me too, yeah.
I love the simplicity of it, and I love it that, it's people. People.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
had, in my acting career, I've had the good fortune of working for Barter Theater, which is the State Theater of Virginia.
Okay.
It's in the Appalachian foothills
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
in Southwest Virginia.
Okay.
And I got to, this was a tremendous honor and sort of mind-blowing, but I got to play Sarah Carter of the original Carter family, if you know American roots music,
Yes.
old-timey music.
Because isn't she related to R.E.M.?
June Carter
Yes,
Cash.
thank you.
Yes.
'Cause
So
aren't they somehow related?
yeah, there is a connection there.
Yeah.
Sarah and Maybelle and A.P. Carter created, they were like Appalachian folk, rural people
Yeah.
who formed a music group together and recorded in 1927 in the town of Bristol, Tennessee. And those recordings were some of the earliest country music ever recorded.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the unlikely story of their rise to fame was that they became nationally known as, country music singers at such an early stage of the game.
Yes.
And A.P. Carter went out through the mountains of Appalachia, door to door, collecting songs. He was a song collector. Because once they made these few first recordings, they were being paid $50 per recording.
Wow.
Of course, then the guy from New York would take it back and make God knows
500,
untold amounts.
yeah.
Right.
But for these rural people,
Oh, I feel
who were basically kind of farmers, this was tremendous income for them, and so it was incentive for them to gather more and more
gather
and
more
more.
songs.
So by default, they created, this
Yeah.
library of music. They helped
Yeah.
to preserve the folk music of the Appalachian Mountains. And that was everything from Negro spirituals to music from the British Isles that had come across the
Yeah.
sea.
That's where my mind just went.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And lots of spirituals. They did a lot of spiritual songs. So it was-
Was that Lomax? Was he doing that, or was that before Alan Lomax came along
Oh
and
gosh, I wish I could remember the guy's name.
started recording
The
everything?
guy from New York. It wasn't Lomax. It was
Okay.
a different name.
Okay.
It
Because Lomax did a lot of stuff, but I think he did it later. I think he was a little later.
probably.
was a little
Was he the American Anthology guy? He
I
traveled around and made field recordings in
Yes.
the mountains.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was
Of
earlier.
everybody.
I think he was
This was
doing that in
earlier.
the 60s.
Yeah, like 50s, 60s.
There
yeah.
was a huge resurgence of interest
Okay.
in
That was okay.
American folk music at
Yeah,
the time. But this
for sure.
was even
This was
a
when
step
it was still
earlier.
Yeah, a lot of it was still happening, even at that time.
Mm-hmm.
There's stuff that those things, and I think God, that sounds familiar. I may have come across a recording or two
Of the original Carter family?
Yeah, because I think they're
would've.
out there in the ether
You
somewhere.
know, will the circle be unbroken?
Oh, absolutely.
You
Is
have such a
that
beautiful
from?
voice.
Okay, I didn't realize that was one of those from that recording.
It is, yeah.
Okay, excellent.
And if you hear the recording that sounds like 1927 on a wax cylinder
See,
of
one
that
I may
early
have heard that.
country music, chances
Okay.
are it's Carter family
It's
or
the
some
Carter
of the
family.
those early people.
I think I ran into that
The
at some
Bristol
point.
sessions were like they call it the
Bristol
Big
session.
Bang of country music.
Yeah.
So I got to play Sarah Carter.
That's amazing.
Who was AP's wife.
Oh, wow.
She played auto harp.
Okay.
So I had to learn to play auto harp.
Jeez.
And then her cousin was Maybelle Carter, who is the mother of June Carter Cash.
Okay.
So that's how that
that's how it's
family
related.
tree
Okay.
works there
Yeah.
a little bit.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, the music, that American folk music is of great interest to me as well.
Yeah, like it quite a bit. Yeah, we've
Have you heard of
borrowed
Anna
from
and Elizabeth? Look them up.
it. Anna and Elizabeth?
Anna
Okay.
and Elizabeth.
I will
They're-
look them up.
They're modern Appalachian sort of old-timey singers, and their stuff is incredible.
See, that's the kind of country music that I like.
We've talked about that quite a bit.
Back when it was both kinds of music,
Yeah.
country and western.
Right, yes, country and western.
Right.
Because I always tend to gravitate towards the western or the bluegrass, Appalachian, Grand Old Opry, the older
Old-timey.
old-timey country music,
Old-timey.
country
Yeah.
and western, songs about people living in the mountains and cowboys and I don't know, and old-time America.
Well, it's real singing with real people. It's not auto-tuned
Yeah.
poppy country,
It's
you know,
stuff that
anymore.
like people
so.
did on their front porch at the end of the day.
Yeah, and everybody
Yeah.
knew the song and everybody joined in and
I
people
love
would
that.
add verses and
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
inclusive.
for sure.
Yeah.
It was
A communal feeling to it.
don't really have that a whole lot. Anything like that anymore. Not really.
No.
Not quite like that.
No, life is too fast. People
is.
have to slow down and be present to do that kind of music.
That's very true.
It is true, and there's something real
Yeah.
special about sitting down and singing with people, not singing at them or performing for them, but
With them.
singing with
It's
them.
like an Irish session.
Yes,
Yeah.
So cool. It's so
yes,
full of
which is
people.
I've always loved about Irish sessions is it's not like a concert or anything. It's just like everybody just comes
Show
and we
up
all
with your
just,
instrument
Yep,
or
we all play.
your voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all play. We all sing, clap, whatever, play the instrument.
Awesome.
I love it.
Absolutely. I love that history. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's so fantastic. And your voice is just amazing.
I'll sing to you anytime,
I'm going to be
darling.
looking up your albums now.
We will have to do it.
I have to give you a Yiddish song.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see if
Ooh.
I can. You want to hear a little bit of a Yiddish song?
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, my teacher in Moldova may be turning in his grave. Okay. Pronunciation. He's a bit of a taskmaster.
All right.
I adore him. His name is Efim Chorny. He's on YouTube. You can find him on YouTube.
Okay.
I was making a documentary film about World War II over the last couple of years, and I needed to source a Yiddish lullaby for a segment of the film that dealt with a Holocaust survivor. And I found Efim Chorny on YouTube and just fell in love with him, and I tracked him down.
Oh, wow.
And then I got involved in a group class of Yiddish music, and then I took Matt some one-on-one private classes. So let's see if I can do one.
All right, see, remember.
Okay. Jumen, Bienen, Bienen, Jumen. Es klingt von Weiten Harmonik. Unarum is Wald und Blumen. Und die Luft ist wie Honig.
Very nice.
Beautiful.
That was beautiful.
I send that one out to the Ukrainians because that is a song from Ukraine.
That's wonderful.
Very nice.
It's a Soviet propaganda song
Is it really?
that was intended to encourage Jewish people to take up as a livelihood beekeeping.
Really?
There's so much interesting and strange history connected
Yes.
to all of this Yiddish music. Wow. Because the Jewish people were constantly being shoved around, moved out of their homelands, forced into other areas of Russia. And a lot of the songs come from the area called Bessarabia, which is Romania, Ukraine, Moldova, that area of the world. And, such sad, incredibly sad history, not just the Holocaust, but prior to that and after that,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
For sure.
So, but that song is, the words of that song are buzzing bees are buzzing. Far off, an accordion rings, the sound of an accordion is ringing, and the woods and flowers are all around, and the air is sweet with honey. And it goes on to say, oh, what riches, no evil eye. Beekeeping has become a Jewish livelihood. So it was the Russian government trying to say, hey, Jewish people, take up this. We need more beekeepers.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah.
how about
So
some-
it was an advertisement to get involved in beekeeping.
an old advertisement.
That's wonderful.
How strange and wonderful is that?
That's awesome.
Beekeeping is a wonderful. My dad owned an apiary.
Oh,
He was
cool.
a beekeeper.
Oh,
Yeah, it was his hobby that was also a business. And
Oh,
so I
love
wish I
it.
could do it. I wish I could have. I'll cut
I have
this
a
out,
friend
but-
who is a beekeeper. He sometimes he comes in and he just has like a swollen sting mark on his face. I'm like, hey Jesse, just come from work? Yep. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, this was just such a pleasure
Yes.
to meet
Yeah.
you.
Very
And
nice.
hear about this play and to hear your sweet voice and all of the things that you've done.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait to have you back on the podcast again.
I will come on the podcast anytime you want.
Oh,
Thank
we would
you.
just
I'm a
be-
blabbermouth.
No.
You can't shut me up.
That's all right. We
I
love it.
love it. It's such a treat. And thank you. And I cannot wait to see this production. I think it's going to be just amazing.
Yep. Can't wait to see it.
I promise you, it will be amazing.
Excellent.
It's my job over the next week and a half to make it amazing for you.
All right.
It's already amazing. It just has to get more amazing.
Yeah.
So
Very good.
We're
We
on-
can't
we're on
wait.
track
Looking
for
forward
that.
to it. That Josh Payton better
Yes.
pull his weight. That's all I'm saying.
Right?
tell him that.
We'll break all the legs. We will be here to see you. And thank you again so much for talking about us
Thank
with
you very
King
much.
Lear.
Thank
at
you
Bluebarn.
both.
Okay, thank you so much to Jill Anderson for talking with us down at the theater. That was really nice. I had not been to the Bluebarn yet, and we got to kind of look around, and it was really neat.
She's amazing. It's going to be an amazing production.
That's right, and the production is King Lear with the cast. Thomas Becker as Lear, Thomas Jerry as Cornwall, Delaney Jackson as Cordelia, Ryan Kathman as Kent, Melissa King as Reagan, Matthew Kisher as Edgar, Ashley Kalbza as Goneril, Mike Lehman as Albany, Josh Payton as the Fool, Paul Shaw as Oswald, Brett Spencer as Gloucester, Shane Steiger as Edmund, Michael Trutna as the Old Man, and Fred Vogel as the King of France.
King Lear opens on March 24th and runs until April 16th. Tickets can be found at bluebarn.org. Thank you for listening and supporting the arts in the Platte River area and beyond. Please subscribe to our podcast so you are sure to catch all of our future episodes and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Music for this podcast was used with permission by Screaming Skull Productions. See you next time on the Platte River Bard.